Quintilius Varus, give me back my legions!
Teutoburg Forest, 9 A.D. 3 Roman legions, 17, 18, 19, 20,000 to 25,000 men were completely annihilated. 3 eagles, Aquilae, General Varus committed suicide. The loss equaled 2 years of Germania's provincial revenue, the greatest military disaster in Roman history. It stung so deeply that Rome brooded for 6 years, plotting a revenge, so then we had Battle of the Long Bridges. In 15 A.D., Rome came back with fire in its eyes. 8 legions under Germanicus, about 55,000 to 70,000 soldiers, including allies, stormed into Germania. They razed dozens of villages, killed or expelled thousands, turning the lands east of the Rhine into smoldering ruins. Arminius, though still alive, was driven deep into the forest. Winter arrived, forcing a Roman withdrawal. Well, that's when Arminius struck back. At a long chain of bridges stretched over the swamps, Arminius prepared his ambush. The memory of Teutoburg still lingered, but this time the Romans were wary. General XVIII took command. One group worked to repair the bridge, another held the rear, while the main force inched forward, slow and exposed. The Germanic tribes held the high ground. They broke the dikes, releasing water that flooded the Roman causeway. The mud swallowed wagons and men alike. Morale collapsed. Wounded soldiers piled up. Rations ran out. At night, howls echoed from the dark forests, robbing the Romans of sleep. Fear crept into every corner. Tacitus tells us Caecina dreamed of Varus, bloodied and silent, staring at him from the shadows. But he told no one. He kept it buried for the sake of morale. At first light, he gave the order, advance, no matter the cost. The legions tightened into a square, the wounded and supplies shielded at the center. They moved forward painfully slow over the half-finished bridge and the drowning marsh. The supply wagons got stuck on the raised road. On either side, the light infantry waded through waist-deep mud, shivering and silent. At that moment, the formation cracked, and that's when Arminius struck. A single signal, and the forest came alive. The Germanic warriors poured down the slopes. The Roman square formation shattered. Shields were thrown away as men rushed to free stuck wagons. Arminius himself tore into the center where the generals were sheltering. Caecina nearly died, saved only by the last wave of Roman reinforcements. Rome collapsed. Soldiers abandoned the wounded, threw away their supplies, and fled back toward their starting point, starving, freezing, stripped bare. In the camp that night, no one slept. They were so nervous that a single horse broke loose and the chaos almost unraveled the entire army. Teutoburg nearly repeated itself. On the other side, Arminius had hoped to lure the Romans into a trap, to finish them off with precision, but he couldn't hold back the bloodlust of the tribal chiefs. No one waited. No one listened. One by one, war bands rushed forward, uncoordinated. One after another, they climbed the ramparts, stormed the gates, and spilled into the Roman camp like a flood, grabbing what loot they could. And then the Roman horns sounded a trap. Caecina had ordered the gates flung open, from the sides, the front, all at once. Roman troops burst out like a cornered beast striking back. The Germanic warriors were caught off guard. No formations, no armor. They broke apart in confusion. The tide turned in seconds. For the first time, after days of being hunted through mud and blood, the Romans took back the initiative. Tacitus wrote, "There were no trees here, no swamps of yours, only an open field, and just gods." Arminius retreated under cover of night. Rome had won its first real victory in Germania. But the cost was monstrous. Knowing full well that this victory was only temporary, Caecina immediately ordered a retreat. His legions were exhausted, wounded, and out of supplies. They marched back toward the Rhine like ghosts, dragging their feet through forests that had become the graves of their comrades. At the border, panic swept through the Roman camp. Rumors spread fast. Teutoburg has happened again. Terrified civilians begged to destroy the Rhine bridge, hoping that would somehow stop the disaster from reaching them. Only Agrippina, wife of Germanicus, kept her composure. She forbade the bridge's destruction, took charge of organizing food, medicine, and aid for the survivors. Caecina tried to guide his men out of the swamps and into higher ground. They spent the night in misery. No food, no fire, many naked or bruised, curled up against the cold. And at dawn, they finally forced themselves to move again, following a path toward a river where Germanicus waited with the fleet. They scrambled onto the ships in chaos, while rumors swirled that they had all drowned. No one truly believed they were alive until they saw Germanicus himself standing there. Only then did they realize they had made it home. And so Germanicus's legions crawled back to the frontier. But it was no triumphant return. It was survival, barely. Fortunately, the rest of the empire didn't yet know what had really happened. In Gaul, Hispania, and Italy, people still spoke of heroism at the front. Provinces competed to send more horses, weapons, and gold to feed the war effort. And Rome, after losing men to the forest twice, finally began to understand there are some lands you cannot conquer by force, just as we now know there are nations you cannot bring democracy to with tanks and drones. Which battle should I cover next? Don't hesitate to drop your suggestions. I love exploring the lesser-known ones, especially those full of drama and twists. Thanks for watching until the end.